Thank you. So then the content that is there in the syllabus that is listed here. So what you are going to look at is what are the different structure of bisexual flower. Now, what is bisexual flower, that we will also revise, and the functions of various parts. So there are 4 parts and so on. What are they specifically called in together, in separation? What are their functions? All of it. Then complete and incomplete flower, what does it mean? Essential and non-essential whole. A whole refers to the parts of the flower, so that we will see. And then what are the different types of inflorescence, that is the arrangement of flower, and the placentation, that is arrangement of the reproductive structures after the fruiting. And yeah, and it clearly mentioned the charts and actual specimen may be used to help and enhance the clarity of the concepts. Now we have charts in the biology lab, but I would prefer to use pictures on the slide instead of them, because that will give the same thing. So I hope that is fine. Okay, so starting, like, what, how do we define a flower? It's a specialized shoot. Now like, you probably remember what shoot is, right? Shoot is the growing part above the ground, right? And the flower is that specialized shoot which, like, in which the leaves are modified into floral structure. So this is the modification of the shoot or modification of the leaves, which is specialized into a floral structure. And then obviously you know what flower looks like. Stalks or pedicel that supports the flower. Now stalk or pedicel is this component. You can see this is the hibiscus, or in Marathi we call it jaswandi. So that this hibiscus rosa sinensis flower that has a stalk, the stem where you hold on, or like, I'm sure you would have given many roses to each other, right? And there, wherever you hold on to, that is the stalk, or it is also called as pedicel. And these type of flower, they are called as stalked or pedicellate flowers. That is the one which has stalk, and you can see as a representative diagram of the stalked flower here. And some flowers, they do not have any of these stalk, and they are called as sessile flowers. Like, for example, again the representative diagram is here. This flower is directly attached to the branch without any pedicel. You can see here there is a pedicel or a stalk. Here there is nothing, and the flower is directly attached, so that is called as sessile flower. Again the example is given here. This is the oh, I forgot the name of this plant. uh, okay, but yeah, you just have to remember what sessile flowers are. I'll give you the examples in a chart later, like stalk flower so and so example, sessile flower so and so example. So there we will revise along with the pictures. But as of now, so sessile flower and the pedicellate or the stalked flower, so these are the two types of the flower. Now apart from these, you will find several classifications of the flower. So this is the classification based on the presence of a stalk or absence of a stalk, either ways. So that is the these are the two types. Uh, I assume people, you don't have any question here. If at all you have, you can ask. But I'll move forward. Now here, these are the different parts which are being mentioned here. So the tip of the flower stalk may be expanded to form a cup-shaped receptacle or thalamus, I guess. Yeah. So this part, you can see a receptacle. So this is actually the stalk or the stem or the pedicel, and this expands a bit. You can see it here, like this is surely enlarged than the base of the stem. That is called as receptacle. Even in this case, if you see, it is slightly enlarged compared to the pedicel part. So that way, that portion is called as receptacle or thalamus, and it is specifically a cup shaped what you say structure in the flower. It's on which the ovaries usually rest, or from which the petals or this colorful part of the flower, they start. Now, these floral parts, that means whatever components are present on the flower or in the flower, they are born on the thalamus or the receptacle, and they are like specifically four whorls. And like I said, this whole terminology is referring to the parts. Yeah, in flower they are specifically called as parts, or rather the parts are specifically called as whorls in the flower. The first whorl is the green sepals, and they are collectively called as calyx. Now, these are the alternative terminologies for each other. Yeah, sepals and calyx, these are the alternative terminologies. It just these are in singular, they can be called as sepals, and when they are in plural or in collective, they are called as calyx. That's the only difference. And the second whorl, that is large, brightly colored petals, and again they are collectively called as corolla. So this is the sepals as calyx, petals as corolla. And there will be a lot of tongue twisting when we speak of these terminologies. So you have to be very careful when you say its sepals cannot be combined into corolla. Yeah, they are separate. Sepals will always be calyx and so on. So just to show you here, like, this is the pedicel, this is the receptacle, and the green part that you have, we will be seeing individually these structures, but this green part that is extending or holding the flower on its base is called as sepal, or collectively it is called as calyx. And this colorful part, now here it is shown, is like kind of pinkish color. These are the petals, and collectively they are called as corolla. Again, in this second flower, this is pedicel, receptacle. This part, which is kind of dark gray, that is sepal, or it is also called as calyx. And these petals, which you can see around this central part, they are called as petal, or collectively they are known as corolla. So these are the first and second whorl of the flower. Now the third whorl is actually the male gamete, or the male reproductive structures of the flowering plant. And the fourth whorl is the female reproductive structures in the flowering plants. So third whorl actually consists of a long thread-like processes. Again, processes does not mean that it is a process. It means an extension. Yeah. In biology, the word processes can also be used as an extension or outgrowth or projection. Like I can say hairs or hair, they are on my head as processes, or the skin hair that we have, they are also processes, that is the outgrowth or projection on the skin. So these are long thread like projections, and each ending into a bilobed tip. Now bilobed means having two compartments. Lobe is a compartment, bilobed means two compartments. And these are stamens, collectively called as androecium. Sorry, I am missing the R here. So it is androecium. Yeah, so stamens, these are the male reproductive parts, and collectively all these stamens, they are called as androecium, which is again the male reproductive structure, but all together. So let me show you this part. Yeah, so this whole thing, the filament, that is the green thread like or a filament like structure, or a like long elongated tubular structure, that is a filament. And you can see here one lobe and the second lobe, that is anther. It is bilobed, anther is bilobed, and the filament is long thread like structure. And collectively this is called as stamen, which is the male reproductive part. And that is what is being said here. Each stamen consists of thread-like filament and bilobed anther. Now you can see there are many stamens, 1, 2, 3, and 3 on the other side. So there can be like 6 or more, or can be 1 or 2, depends on what type of flower it is. The number of stamens will vary, but each stamen will always have a filament and will always have an anther. Now, one of the important fact here is even the length of filament can also vary in different flowers. Where they are originating from, that will also vary in different flowers. What we need to know as of now here is stamen is the male reproductive structure, consists of a filament which is a thread-like structure, and anther which is bilobed, present on the top of the filament. Yeah. So even in this structure, if you see, now here you can see the length of filament is varying based on where they are originating from, and this will be your uh, anther, or here it is shown anther and the filament and collectively stamen. The reason I am showing you different flowers is because the arrangement might be slightly different in different flowers. That's why I have chosen these two flowers, one colorful and one black and white, just to, because if at all in the exam it comes like draw a structure of the flower, then you can refer to this diagram to draw it. It's not difficult, and of course you can change the shape of the petal and change the length of the filament and so on. That is up to you, but all the structures needs to be shown. So that is the third wall, which has stamen, and stamen consists of filament and anther. Now the fourth wall, that is the female reproductive structure, which is centrally located. Centrally located, usually it's at the center of the flower, and or they are also called as pistils. Centrally located pistils that may be formed of a single female unit, which is called as carpel. Now carpel, I will show you the carpel again. So this particular structure at the center, whole of it, from the top till this round oval shape, that is the ovary, that is called as pistil, or it is also called as carpel when it is single, and when there are many carpels present, it is collectively called as gynoecium. Yeah, gynoecium or carpel or pistil, they are the same things. And each of the carpel, they are consisting of like a basal ovary, again a filament like structure, that is style at the center or at the middle portion, and the uppermost part is stigma. So this is ovary, this tubular structure is style, and the uppermost flat portion is stigma, and this collectively is called as pistil. When it is single, we call it carpel. When it is fused with different carpels, that is called as gynoecium, but they are all female reproductive structure. Again, here also you can see it's the same arrangement, just the style or the presentation of the stigma is little different, and the style is little short. So that is just the way flower would be. It is consisting of pistil, which is style, stigma, and ovary. Okay. Any question here? Anyone? I know this could be again just the repetitive part, but we had to go through it. Anyone has any question? Have you ever seen in dissection or so, what are the components of the flower and so on? Or under the microscope, have you?
I did last time, sir. Last year.
You mean in the class you did it?
Yes.
Oh.
Like a cast us to do it and then take pictures and put it in the classroom.
Not under the microscope.
Huh. But yeah, just like taking a section of the flower and. Okay.
So we murdered the flowers.
Sorry, another?
Yeah, like we really cut up the flowers and killed.
But you know, like you will find so many flowers around you. Like for example, I don't know the English name. It is called as Sadafuli. like this one. I'll show you.
The pink ones.
Yeah, they are existent in quite many colors.
So which flower is that one? Which is like very common. There's a white flower with like big petals, and it's like just yellow in the middle.
So
It's champa.
It's like everywhere.
Frangipani.
Outside my house, like a lot of those trees, and they're always falling down.
yeah, Catharanthus.
Oh, this flower is very common too.
Yeah, this
This also.
and it is name is Sada is every time and fully is like flower.
Oh, this is not.
The
Yeah,
pink ones, I've seen them a lot.
yeah, you will see this is common and even the white one is pretty common. And if you take out this flower and observe its parts, no, you will not find sepals, or you will not find the style stigma ovary clearly. So just observe this flower if at all you get it and try to segregate into its part. It will be a fun exercise because this is not the typical flower that we have, and probably what you are referring to is this champak, yeah, or champa flower. No, this is the
Can you go a little?
I think they mean
Maybe
frangipani.
it's
That one.
just there's a photo.
these ones.
No, the fourth one.
The second, yeah, both the fourth one,
And
yes.
not the orange ones. I'm talking about this fourth one. I've seen
In
this
the
one.
white, in the
Or the sixth one.
This one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
these
sometimes the
Yeah.
amount of yellow varies, but like it's generally a bit lesser than.
There's also a pink variety.
Yeah, there. See, this one is here.
This one has thinner petals, I think. The white one has very thick petals.
Huh, but it just the grafted ones. So depending on what grafting has been done, they usually vary in the wool. Sometimes you will find these white and yellow combination just a little opened and they don't open up completely. That way also they are present. I don't know what variety.
So
Yeah.
isn't frangipani champak the same thing?
Sorry, which one?
Isn't like the flower frangipani and champak the same thing?
I don't know the first one. How do you spell it?
Frangipani. It's like FRANGIPANI.
Oh, this one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Look. Same thing.
Yeah. These are just what we call as common names in different languages or different places. Champa and champak is more commonly used in Hindi.
Here.
Yeah. And these are more of English names. Or I don't know, maybe someone have given it. So actually there is also interesting history behind those names. Sometimes you should look at it.
Yeah, so there's an entire frangipani tree in my building. Champa, it's called.
Okay, so what am I doing? Why is this getting? Okay, so that is the 4 walls of the flower. And of course, please try to practice this diagram at least in your head, if not on the notebook, because these structures, they are commonly asked. And most importantly, students usually get confused between what is style, what is pistil, what is calyx and corolla. And because there are so many terminologies, it's quite easy to get confused there. So best would be to write it down. And also that is when I deliberately chosen a diagram which will mention these collective names here itself. Yeah, so that is also one point. So you can revise whole of the thing within just looking at one diagram. Okay, now the different classifications of the flower. We won't be looking at all the different types or all the different classification, but just few of them. Now, the first one, that is complete and incomplete flowers. Now, complete flower is the one which has all the 4 floral structures, or you can say it has all the 4 whorls. Yeah, that will be called as complete flower, and it is also called as perfect flower. Now the reason why it is called complete or perfect is because it has male reproductive structure as well as female reproductive structure, most importantly. And apart from that, it has obviously the sepals and petals part. And that is why it is called as complete flower. And if any one of the sets of the floral structure they are missing, that is called as incomplete flower, or it is also called as imperfect. So out of these four, that is pistil, stamen, corolla and calyx, if all four are present, and of course their subcomponent, that is complete flower. If any of this is missing, corolla missing, that is rare thing, calyx missing, quite common, stamen missing, again a little rare, and the pistil again a rare thing, because unisexual flowers they are less in number compared to bisexual flower. So that way, if any of these four parts are missing, any one, that will be called as incomplete or imperfect flower. Now the essential parts, this specifically refers to the ones which are directly concerned with the reproduction. So the essential parts of the flowers are those that are directly concerned with the reproduction. And these parts consist of your stamen, that is your male reproductive structure, and the carpels or pistils, which is female reproductive structure. And they are essential parts. Non-essential. Now, non-essential does not mean that they are not essential at all, but they are just accessory. Now, you imagine the function of these petals or the corolla, right? That is to attract insect. And if that is not present, insects will not be attracted. Pollination will take quite a long time to happen on its own. If it is with insects, it is happening quite fast because they carry flower to flower different pollen grains, and then they allow them to fertilize and so on. So that way they are still required, but they are not like super essential, and that's why they are also called as accessory. Yeah, and they are simply helping parts which either protect the reproductive part, like for example the flower petals, when it is in bud situation, it will cover the reproductive part and it will let it grow completely, and then it will open up. So that way it protects the reproductive part of the flower or make the flower more attractive for pollination. And like you said, the bright color of those petals is majorly because of the having the function of pollination to attract the different insects. And the part that are included in the non-essential or the accessory part is sepals and petals. Now again, very important thing, you might be curious to Google about what gives different colors to different flowers. We may or may not do this in the class. If at all we have enough time, in one of the class we will have a look at all these factors. But if at all you are more curious, you can always Google it and check what gives the color to those flowers, and then what are those different combinations of flower. Let's say for example, there is a pink rose or red rose and white rose, and if you graft this together, you get a pink rose. Why does that happen? Is it just because of the grafting of the flower, or the pigmentation in the flower also changes, and that's why the color change in the flower? So you might want to look at that particular aspect just as a matter of curiosity. And like I said, we might do a bit of it at the end of this chapter so that we have some general idea as well. In some cases, the petals and sepals, they are undifferentiated. That means they are still together. They are not separately present. And that particular structure where the sepals and petals are fused. For example, you can see your sepals clearly and the petals very clearly, like they are very separate from each other. Imagine these two fusing with each other, and at the base you will have sepals, and from the same extension ahead you will have petals, and that is the fusion of the petals and sepals, that is called as perianth. The structure which is combined petals and sepals is called as perianth. And when the perianth is non-green, that is called as petaloid, because it is more of petal in nature, that is colorful. So it is non-green, and that is called as petaloid. And when it is more green, that is more like sepals, so that is called as cephaloid. And that way the perianth can be classified into two: more like a petal, petaloid; more like sepal, that is cephaloid. Yeah, I hope this part is clear. I guess I have forgotten to keep a picture, but let me just show you here quickly. So perianth. Okay, here examples. Let me put. I can't see really. Yeah, in this case now, though the color is differentiated, but this is still growing from the same portion, so it's they are in one plane. This is actually the perfect example. And even in case of champa, that is also an example of, or that flower that we just saw, that is the fusion of the sepal and petal. In some cases you will also find this terminology being used, that is tepal. Yeah, that is saying nothing but the perianth.
I think the Sadafuli one also is this thing.
Correct. Sadafuli is also an example of the having perianth structure. No, these are all separate ones. Like I said, you know, these examples are very rare that you get to see.
So basically, if the flower doesn't have a sepal, that means the petal only is the sepal.
No, it has both the parts, but over the growth, that will fuse together. Petals and sepals, they will fuse together completely, and then they will form as a one single, unit. Like I guess even in this case specifically, yeah, example of not united perianth. So usually what I want to show is this is actually epicalyx. It's not the calyx itself. Epicalyx is sub part of calyx, and this like petals, they are fused with the sepal. So you can see a little green portion behind, right? So that way, these are just the examples of the perianth. Okay, I really can't see here any petal sepal fusion. We can only see the petals. But yeah, I hope you got what I mean to say. I will try to look for a better example sometime, and I will post a picture of it as well. Yeah, okay, that's okay for now. But I assume the conceptually it is clear what this perianth is. So when the perianth, when the petals and sepals they are fused, that is called as perianth. You might find that tepal terminology somewhere mentioned, which is nothing but the same. And when the perianth is colorful, it is called as petaloid, that is it's like petal. And when it is green, that is it's more like sepal, it is called as cephaloid perianth. So these were just the different ways that flowers can be classified, whether based on the complete or incomplete, whether essential, having the essential part and non-essential part, or they are also based on the presence of perianth, can be petaloid or cephaloid. And if it is like the petals and sepals, they are together, they are not together, then obviously there will be no perianth. Yeah, but not all flowers they will have perianth, that you need to be aware of. And just this is the diagram, which is kind of summary what we have looked so far. Functions we are yet to see individually, but still this will mention. And again, so the flower plots, non-essential whorls, essential whorls. Essential whorls are the reproductive one, that is stamen and carpel, which is collectively can also be called as, stamen is called as androecium, carpel is called as gynoecium. Carpel is also called otherwise pistils. Non-essential whorls, we have sepals, collectively called calyx, petals, collectively called corolla, And stamen has 3 different parts. Sepals and petals, they do not have any subparts. They are just present as one single unit. They just vary in different sizes. Stamens, they have 3 parts, anther and the filament, or it is called as connective and filament as 3 part. But you can simply say anther and filament, that is perfectly fine. Connective is actually the small part that bilobed anther is connected to the filament with a very small stalk, and that is called as connective, but it is ultimately connecting to the filament itself. And the female reproductive structure, that is carpel, consists of 3 parts: ovary, style, and stigma. Sepals function is to protect the inner walls in the bird condition, and also because it is green, it also performs the functions of photosynthesis. Petals to attract the pollinating agent, and again during the bird situation they also protect the reproductive structures. Stamen, it is taking part in the reproduction because being a male reproductive structure, and same is the carpel, again they take part in the reproduction being a female reproductive structure. So that is a quick summary of what we have seen so far. Yeah, just another representation with respect to different classifications that you see here at the bottom, which we will see later. Okay, I guess we will see these part and then we will stop after this. So there are few additional parts in some of the flowers, apart from what we commonly call as carpel, then stamen, then petals or corolla, and the calyx. Apart from these 4, we might see different structures. And these are, for example, bracts. Now, bract is something like when a flower arises in the axil. Axil is along the axis of a leaf, like a structure. So the flower itself is a leaf-like structure, and that particular structure is known as bract.
So isn't that bud?
Sorry,
Wouldn't that be like bud? Or is that different?
not a bud. It is actually a flower, but it just because it looks like leaf. So common ones. Oh, again, I have forgotten to put a picture. Bract is very commonly example you would have seen for sure. Bract. No, bracteate flower, I should put it. Yeah, this. Because these flowers are not so commonly found around, these ones. No, here also they don't really mention.
But they look like flowers only. They don't look.
Yeah, they look like flowers only, but no, the typical example of bracteate flower, I don't remember the name of that. That's why I can't really Google it directly. Let me see.
The bougainvillea.
Yeah, bougainvillea is surely one example. But the another one that I wanted to show is leaf-like flower. Leaf-like.
Bougainvillea is so common. Like everywhere.
Yeah, this one. Have you seen this? It's quite commonly observed in most.
Does it have a white flower? Oh yes, yeah. So I've seen it in school.
The petal looks like a leaf.
Yeah, so this is actually like, of course, bougainvillea is a common example of bracteate, but this is another garden ornamental plant, which is specifically anthurium, it is called as. Now I know anthurium, and this one is also common. And here it actually looks like a leaf. This is still looks like a flower, the bougainvillea one, but this one is just a leaf and something at the center, which are the reproductive parts. So that is the exact example of the bracteate flower, or the flowers with bract.
It's like the one you showed. What it's called?
Anthurium.
Yeah, it's found in school. I've seen it.
Yeah, some places we have it. Yeah. So the bracts may be green like ordinary leaves, and at times they can also be colored. So like bougainvillea and the anthurium species that we have seen, they are colored. But there are varieties of anthurium where you can find they are totally green in color. So even the other leaf part, they are also green, and the flower itself is also in green color. So then it is like ordinary leaves. So that is what is called as bract. That is when the flower arises in the axil or along the axis like of a leaf like structure. That is called as bract, and the flower is called as bracteate flower. Yeah, you just add BRACTEATE, bracteate flower. So the large and colorful bract of bougainvillea, which is again is easily mistaken for the petals. Yeah, so this is not a petal, that we need to be sure of. It is specifically a bract, which is a leaf-like structure. You can call it a petal, but no, you can't call it a petal, but you can consider it functions like a petal. Yeah, there is a difference when we say this. So the actual flower in this case is small and somewhat cylindrical and is attached to the inner side of the bract. So that part I forgot to show you. Oh no, I have a diagram here itself. I need not go ahead. Here, yeah. So this center part is the actual flower, the tiny one, white color, and these are the bracts in pink color. Yeah, here also this is another example where you have bracts around it, and these are the tiny flowers at the center, and that is the perfect example of a bracteate flower. Oh, why I'm doing this? Then the next one is nectaries. Now again, this you would know, most of the flowers, they produce a sweet fragrant liquid, and that is called as nectar. And again, the purpose of having nectar is to allow or the attract insect. So the group of nectar secreting cells, they are called as nectaries, and they are usually located at the base of the pistil or the base of the female reproductive structure, and on the base of the petals. So that is where the junction of the flower is, like next to the receptacle or next to the thalamus. That's where the nectaries or the secreting cells are present. And the function, like I mentioned, they attract insects like honeybees for cross pollination, and in some cases they are also prominent in nasturtium like species. Now I'll show you this nasturtium species here. So you can see this is the stalk, the dark green color is the stalk, and this other portion that you see kind of hanging with the flower, that is the nectary. Here it is very prominently visible. You can see the stalk or the pedicel of the flower, and this side branch that you see, that is the nectary, where all the nectar is stored, and also there are these secreting cells present at the base throughout. So that is the nasturtium flower, and this is again a not common example. In most of the flower, you have a nectar right at the base here itself, just above the pedicel or stalk and at the base of the flower. So this is the portion where my cursor is. That's where the nectar is usually located. But this is the special case where the nectar is separately located in another tube. Yes, Vashish?
So there are a lot of flowers somewhere we can suck nectar from the stem.
I cannot hear you, Vashish. Your voice is echoing a lot.
So I was saying in school there are a lot of flowers from which we can suck nectar. That mostly around the Pythonil and variety.
Yeah, I don't know if you have ever like tried to suck in the nectars through them. The common one that we used to do is again lantana. If you know this lantana species, lantana. Flowers. These ones you would have seen very commonly in the campus or even around the villages. Yeah, and
Yeah, sir.
yeah, if you pluck these bunch And if you just try to suck in the nectar, you will get that sweet taste on your tongue. And there,
So we have tried that.
yeah, and that is really good example of having nectar. But again, this is not the separate nectar that is present. It is located at the base of the flower. So that is the nectar that we are talking about. Okay, I guess we will stop here. We will not go any further. In next class, we will start from sexuality in flower. Does anyone have any question? What is this sensai? Does it mean